If you're a digital artist looking to upgrade to a 4K drawing tablet, then let's introduce the XP Pen Artist Pro 16TP. I'm James Hertz from MUO, and we're going to talk about the XP Pen Artist Pro 16TP and what it offers to both veterans and beginners alike. With the Artist Pro 16TP, XP Pen has gone all out to give a premium feeling, starting from the box art itself. Now, the question is always, once you do open the package, does the actual tech specs and the item match the initial wonder that was there? As primarily a 4K drawing tablet, the Artist Pro 16TP offers a lot if you're a fan of XP Pen's quality and its price point compared to, say, Wacom. In terms of other specifications for the 16TP, it has 92% Adobe RGB and 124% sRGB across its 15.6-inch screen for better color accuracy. If you've already used XP Pen products, there's also the familiar 8192 pressure sensitivity levels and the 60 degrees of tilt action for the stylus. Now let's move on to talking about setting up the Artist Pro 16TP, and the best place to start there is with the cords. Now there is a USB port at the very top of the tablet, and this is where you're going to plug in two different cord types based off your laptop or desktop situation. First off, there is a USB-C to USB-C, and secondly, there's a USB-C to an HDMI and USB-A type. The second one is meant for older systems, so if you don't have a USB-C port, you can use this. Now, there are a few things to note here. The USB-C to the USB-A and HDMI port can have some potential cord complications. With my older Windows laptop, I found that when I placed the HDMI and the USB-A in ports next to each other, they were fighting for space and slightly pushing each other out. So in the end, I would have to use a separate opposing side USB-A on my Windows laptop to have enough space, but this led to more cord clutter. Now, I also did it with a Mac laptop. The Mac laptop was an older MacBook Air, so it did not have an HDMI port. Instead, I had to use a mini display Thunderbolt adapter to HDMI to get it plugged in. This spaced out the cords more neatly, so I was able to get a cleaner workspace. So you're going to want to consider exactly what your port setup is when you're working with either a newer or an older system. Ideally, the USB-C to the USB-C setup is the cleanest and the one you'll probably want to use with this tablet. Now, there is another port at the top of the Artist Pro 16TP that is used to power the device. Now, you don't have to power it via this separate port with a USB-C to its variety of adapters, but this is advised simply because it allows you to run the screen at max brightness. When I didn't have it plugged in, the XP Pen Artist Pro 16TP would automatically drop to 50% brightness. Typically while working, I prefer to run it at 100% brightness, so if I removed the secondary power source, this was quite a trade-off. Now, at the top of the XP Pen tablet, nestled in between the two USB ports, is a security slot. Now, this is good for protecting your tablet, but XP Pen didn't provide much information here. Not the dimensions of it, nor exactly the lock that would fit in place. So to test it out, I first purchased a Kensington cable lock, a standard sized one, but that didn't fit. Afterwards, I reached out to XP Pen support, and they gave me two different locks. The first one didn't fit because it didn't have enough depth to fit in the security slot, but they double checked and gave me both the dimensions of the security slot as well as the dimensions of the depth of the lock in terms of what would fit in the security slot. Afterwards, I was able to find a lock that fit and secured the XP Pen tablet. Now, why would you want to purchase this? This is a pricier tablet, so you might want something to protect it if you're working in a public place or you're going to have this permanently fixed at some place for your business. Now let's talk about actually setting up the tablet. There are no legs on the Artist Pro 16TP. Instead, at the bottom of it, there are 4 rubber feet that help keep it snugly to the table. So if you're okay with working flat, it's not too much of a big deal, but I prefer a more adjustable setup when working with a drawing tablet. So in the end, I ended up purchasing XP Pen's AC18 display stand, which allowed me to adjust my tablet to a variety of different degree levels. So it is more of a budget concession, but Again, you can purchase an accessory or use a laptop stand or make one your own if you really want to adjust how the XP Pen is displayed. Now, once you have your tablet set up the way you want it, let's talk about some of the features of it. Now, if you have the XP Pen Artist Pro 16TP facing you, then there are some buttons on the left to pay attention to. First off, there is a power button, but beneath it is the touch control modes. This allows you to go between 3 presets. The first one simply turns touch controls off. The second one enables touch control and gives equal weight to both your hand and the pen. And the last one has touch on but is a pen priority mode. This prevents accidental detection of your hand and possibly deselecting or messing up what you're currently drawing. I typically worked in this mode since it worked the best for my drawing style. Let's move on to talking about what touch controls there are. If you're a Windows user, you can zoom in, zoom out, you can rotate, and you can also pan back and forth. All of this is very useful while drawing. Now, if you're a Mac user, your touch controls are more limited. First off, you need to be very careful to read the instruction prompts and possibly reinstall your drivers if you're working on the Mac computer. I had previously used an XP Pen tablet, so I had to reinstall all my drivers and make sure everything was reset so I could get the touch controls operating. Now, even after doing this on the Mac, all I was able to get was the ability to scroll up and down and make tap selections. So if I was selecting a menu or something of that nature, I could do that. So the question is, if you are a Mac user, is it worth using the touch controls? To a lesser degree it is, but again, you got to think about your work style. If you're trained in using hotkeys, this can be a lot faster than using touch-based controls anyway. But this is something to consider if you are a Mac user versus a Windows user when purchasing this tablet. Also at the top of the tablet is the option to change your tablet settings. This is a lot like adjusting a monitor. You can go between different presets, whether it's a visual mode preset like game mode, movie mode, or standard mode. And you can also adjust color temp between a variety of presets. Also, if you really do want to fine-tune your settings, you can go under standard mode and go to a variety of different settings. All in all, it's a really seamless way to adjust your visuals as needed while working and drawing. So let's move on to talking about the styluses. Since I had previously used the P05D stylus with the Deco Mini 7W, I was excited to try out the PH2 with the Artist Pro 16TP. Overall, in terms of weight, they weigh roughly the same as both battery-free styluses. In terms of feel, I did feel like the PH2 had a more premium feel to it, while the P05D was more plasticky. But with the P05D, it had more of an ergonomic grip at the base, so it felt like it would be more easy to use over longer periods, whereas I got some discomfort when using the PH2 for longer periods of time. Now, specifically with the PH2, there are some things to keep in mind. First off, there is only one shortcut button on it. This is due to the fact that it has a digital eraser at the back. Now, a note on the digital eraser. When using on Windows, if I did disable Windows Ink, the digital eraser would not pick up. So if you are going to use it on Windows, keep that in mind. Now, I also want to talk about nib removal. So the PH2 comes with a push pen case. Now inside the push pen case is all your nibs as well as a indentation for your pen. Now when you're ready to remove the nib, there is a metal circle here where you simply insert your nib, push it forward, and then pull the pen away from the nib. And then you can retract and pull out the nib and insert it once again. Now if you are going to be using this for a long period of time, these are relatively lightweight styluses, so this is a good way to prevent them from getting lost. In terms of other impressions, I found it very easy to pick up and use like XP Pen's other styluses, but again, it's never really going to have the weight or feel of something like an Apple Pen, so if you prefer something like that, keep this in mind. Now let's move on to talking about the display of the Artist Pro 16TP. As previously mentioned, it does have a 4K display, so it is ultra high definition, but there are some other things to keep in mind. First off, it has a smoother, glossier finish. It is also fully laminated, so it reduces things like parallax. Also, it does have anti-glare glass, so you don't have to deal with eye strain as much, and it removes outside light interference to a reasonable degree. There is some personal preference here. If you prefer a tablet that's more matte and textured, you're going to have a different drawing experience on the Artist Pro 16TP. Personally, I didn't have any issues using it. It had a good color range and overall was easy to use. As always, with the purchase of an XP Pen drawing tablet, there's some free software. With the Artist Pro 16TP, there's Open Canvas, Art Rage, Cartoon Animator, and Explain Everything. Since I had previously used Explain Everything in Open Canvas, I decided to try out Art Rage 6 this time. It's a lightweight, non-resource intensive art software, so it's a very easy way to jump in, get used to the features of the Artist Pro 16TP, as well as try out the Stylus. Now, overall, I find XP Pen's free software to be really good for a wide range of skill levels, and especially just to jump in and really test the tablet. In the case of Art Rage 6, this was no exception. And on the bright side, you always save some money with this free software if you're just getting started out. Since the Artist Pro 16TP is part of XP Pen's Artist Pro line, I really wanted to try it with Photoshop. Now, I found some things while testing this out. First off, I was not able to use the touch-based controls unless I went under Photoshop's performance settings and made sure Use Graphics Processor was enabled. Also, I was getting some minor input lag, as well as some detection issues if my strokes with my stylus were too light. To adjust this, I had to go back under performance settings and adjust my memory usage and some of the advanced settings for the graphics processor. Based off this, I got much better results, and I was really able to capitalize on the power of the Artist Pro 16TP when combining it with Photoshop. Now, with XP Pen's products, usually there's some kind of fun use that's alluded to, and the Artist Pro 16TP is no exception. Since it has a primarily USB-C targeted setup, it does mention it has really good integration with the Nintendo Switch. So if you do have the Artist Pro 16TP in your work area and you want to take a break, it's a simple matter of disconnecting it from your desktop or laptop, putting it into the bottom of your Nintendo Switch, and using the Artist Pro 16TP as a separate monitor. You'll have to remove the Joy-Cons, but again, you can have a nice relaxing break and enjoy the Nintendo Switch with the Artist Pro 16TP. So the question is, should you purchase the Artist Pro 16TP from XP Pen? Now, XP Pen's biggest competitor is the Wacom Cintiq Pro. This definitely costs more, but there are some more integrated features like better cable management and kickstands for it. Now, a lot of what you're going to be deciding with Artist Pro 16TP is, do you want those conveniences, or can you work with the cords and then possibly purchase a separate stand for it? If you're just after the raw performance and power of it, then Artist Pro 16TP won't disappoint on that facet. It is a great 4K display, so if you're after that and you want to add an affordable budget point, consider purchasing the Artist Pro 16TP. As always, a big thanks to XP Pen for providing the Artist Pro 16TP testing unit. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, whether it's about digital drawing or the tablet itself. If you want to read our written review, head over to makeuseof.com for an in-depth review of the Artist Pro 16TP. And as always, a big thanks for watching.